thank you so much for joining us for our 22nd Happiness Happens Month celebration. It's starting to make me feel old, but I appreciate you being here to celebrate with us because we're trying to show the 31 types of happiness in action and show how people, relate to them in their lives. So I know you have a new book out, and we're going to talk about that on question 2. But our first question is motivated. When is a time that you felt motivated? And you wrote 9 books, so you're super motivated. So when I was reading your bio, like that's a lot of motivation to get through that process. But I'm sure you're motivated with other stuff. So I was hoping you would share a story about a time when you were motivated and how it connects to your happiness.
Sure. I guess I became a writer, on November 28th, 1988, actually. I know the date. I was in a high school class, and I was sort of a kid who didn't care that much about school. My parents had told me in no uncertain terms that when I was 18, I'd be leaving, and I was on my own at that point. So I spent a lot of my senior year sort of afraid about where I might live and eat, when I graduated from high school. And no one said the word college to me. Even though I was getting good grades, they just perceived me as someone growing up in poverty and probably wasn't going to be able to do that. And so I was in English class one day, and I had a teacher, Mr. Campopiano, and he taught us about satire. First time I'd ever heard it before, and I kind of fell in love with it. I thought, wow, I can write funny, sarcastic, insulting things and get away with it. It thrilled me. So I wrote what I thought was going to be the greatest piece of American literature ever. I still own it to this day. I still have a copy of it. And I handed it in.
So you were how old?
I was 17.
17. Okay. So yeah. 17. Wow.
Yeah, I had high hopes. So I handed it in, and I expected an A+, and I got it back on November 28th, and it was a B-, and I was really upset. I thought he was a fool, Mr. Campo. So I charged to the front of the room and let him know how I felt in no uncertain terms. And we sort of went at it a little bit. And then finally he said, stop. He said, listen, I don't think it's satire. I think it's too obvious. It's not really worth, an A. But if you read it to the class and they agree that it is satire, I'll make your B- an A-. But if they agree with me that it's too obvious and it's really not satire, your B- becomes a C-, which was a great lesson for me. As an elementary school teacher, I teach for the last 25 years. It's a lesson I take to the classroom every day, raise the stakes on kids. So I agreed, and I read it to the class, and I was maybe 3 sentences in when I heard the girl who I had been in love with all my life laugh right from over here in the room. And it was one of the best sounds I'd ever heard in my life. And then pretty soon the whole class was laughing at what I had written. And when I finished, Mr. Campo asked, he said, raise your hand if you think it was satire. And every hand went up in the room, including Mr. Campo's. He said, it does not present as satire on the page, but you're so sarcastic and you brought so much life to it, it became satire. And so, I still have it in this file cabinet right here. The B- became an A-. And that was a enormously motivating moment for me in my life, because I was a kid without a future. I had no idea what I was going to do. And in that moment, first I had made a girl laugh. I had gained acceptance from someone through something I had written, which was fabulous. I had made a teacher look like I proved a teacher was wrong, which for a 17-year-old boy is incredible. But the most important thing that happened to me was I had written something, and then I had read it, and I felt like I had changed my future in a meaningless way, really. My A- didn't change my grade point average. It didn't really make a big difference in anything other than I realized, wow, I can write and change people's minds. Like, this might be something I could do. So I came to school on Monday, and I opened my first business. I started selling term papers to my classmates, $50 for an untyped term paper and $100 for a typed term paper. And with the money I earned doing my classmates' assignments, I bought my first car, a 1978 Chevy Malibu, a piece of junk that meant the world to me. And ever since that day, without exception, and I know it sounds ridiculous, but it's true, ever since that day, I have written every single day of my life. It just became, it became a vision of what I could be in the future. And I had no vision before that. So I think when it comes to being motivated, it's so important to identify something on a horizon that you can be aiming at. I think if you don't have a point to sort of target and hope to get there someday, I think it's really hard to be motivated. So it gave me direction and it gave me hope that I did not have until that day.
Oh, wow. I love that story. So, okay, I do have to ask though, what happened on your 18th birthday? Where did you end up in college? Did you end up being a black market term paper writer forever or?
No, I moved in with a buddy who was going to college, and for 3 years, I managed McDonald's restaurants while he
Okay.
was going to college, and eventually I ended up homeless. I ended up in jail. I ended up in a lot of trouble for a while, not of my own doing, to be completely honest. It's a long story. I ended up on trial for a crime I did not commit. So it was a messy 6 years after high school, but I eventually made it to college and I managed to get a degree in English and a degree in teaching. I became an elementary school teacher and I started writing. So it took a while, but I got there. Oh, you're frozen. In a deeply earnest look. Oh, you're back.
Yes, we're back. So, okay, perfect. So you did make it to college and you've written 9 books,
Yes.
including a best-selling, I believe, fiction book, correct?
Yes. I wrote, it's a book, Memoirs of an Imaginary Friend. It's published in like 30 countries and became a bestseller. So I got very, very lucky. Oh, you're frozen again. And now you're back.
I am back. We will get this edited out. So
No problem. No problem at all.
okay. And so what year did that book come out?
Memoirs of an Imaginary Friend came out in 2012. It was my 3rd book that I published.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And you said you teach school now still, correct?
I do. I've been teaching elementary school since 1999. I teach 5th grade these days. I previously taught 3rd grade, and for a year I taught 2nd grade.
It looks like you love that.
I do. I have a wife who's a kindergarten teacher, and I have some business partners, and my my money people tell me I should definitely stop teaching because it's not as profitable as other things I could be doing. But I adore the children. My school is 5 minutes from my home. It's very lovely, and I love doing it. So until I get a batch of really despicable children, I think I'll probably be teaching for a while.
Oh, that's great. I mean, there really are very few despicable. There's some despicable circumstances I think they react to.
Yeah.
But there's very few. I used to work for Junior Achievement, so we so I had programs in various grades, and
oh yeah, they come into my classroom. Yeah, we have Junior Achievement come in. Yep.
Oh yeah, we had a 5th grade I loved my 5th graders, my old business basics I love them. So okay, your new book, let's talk a little bit about that. It is called, and I just want to make sure that I've got the title right, and it's called Someday is Today.
Yes.
And it's about being creative, if I read that correctly, which is also a type of happiness. But I'd love for you to share with our viewers, a little bit about how that book's going to make them a little bit happier. Well, obviously creative, because creative is a type of happiness.
Well, I stand in front of a lot of people as an author and a public speaker and a storyteller. I perform as well on stages. And the question I get asked the most is, how do you do all the things that you do? Because I'm a teacher and I'm a writer and I'm a performer, and I have a business where I consult with corporations and priests and ministers and rabbis, everybody in between, on storytelling and communication. So they wonder, how do I fit all that into my life with my 2 kids and my 2 cats and my wife and my terrible golf game and my better poker game? And whenever I got asked that question, what I wanted to say was, if you'll sit down with me for like 14 hours, I'll explain to you how to structure your life so that you can be productive and have a positive outlook, and to do things like identify points on that horizon to be productive and motivated. But I never had that time. No one ever wanted to spend that amount of time with me, including my wife and kids. So the book is the answer to that question. The book seeks to answer the question, how do you accomplish all of your dreams? How do you make your dreams come true?
That is, I love that. And I love the cover and the title, and I can't wait to read my copy. That's super exciting. So I had a book that came out this year called Practical Happiness: 4 Principles to Improve Your Life. And one of the principles is happiness is personal. That's the first principle. And I think we live in a world where there's so much groupthink and there's a lot of competitive happiness that we forget our happiness is personal. Now, that doesn't mean We don't go see the scary movie with our best friend on their birthday, or, we just stay in our, like, oh, it doesn't make me happy, I don't do it. Because our relationships with people, have other types of happiness, love, giving, sharing. But what is one of your happiness is personal? So it might not make your kids, your wife, your friends, your golf buddies, your poker buddies. I feel like that came from high school. It might not make them happy, but it does make you, totally happy. And it might be your poker game or your golf game. But what is that place that, is a 90%, if I'm doing this, I'm going to feel happy unless something really horrible is going on?
I'm sort of really interested in the margins. I really like the idea that there's small incremental things that we can do to make our lives better. I think we often look for the big thing. And so what I teach my students and what I engage in is just looking for tiny moments. So I know that sitting under a tree and looking up into the branches and the leaves improves my brain chemistry. It's the way we're designed, it's a scientific fact that if you sit under a tree and you look up into the tree, you're going to feel better. And I do that all the time. And I do it alone, and I drag my students out and I make them sit under trees and look up into the trees. And, I'll have a book, or I'll have headphones, or I'll have speakers to listen to music. And, I know a lot of people think I'm crazy, because they're always looking for that big thing that will change their life. And I just believe that if you change your life 1/10 of 1% every day, and you find these little things like spend 10 minutes under a tree, that is so cumulative. Things will start to build up. So just simple things like sitting under a tree, which I've already done today. I went for a bike ride. I stopped at the park. I sat under a tree for 10 minutes. I looked up into the leaves. I got back on my bike. I rode home. I jumped on this with you. So that's something that I think everyone can do, provided you have a tree and you have some leaves, you're not in a place where those things don't exist. And that's going to bring a lot of happiness to you. So that is a simple thing I do all the time.
I love that. And I love that you're sharing that with your students, because you're teaching them happiness habits that they can pretty much do throughout their entire life. Theirs may not be a tree. They may decide theirs is.
Nope. You're frozen. Your poor internet today. Now you're back.
Yes, I know we keep going in and out. You're only my second interview that's had this. I don't know what.
Yeah, there must be something.
Anyway,
there's probably something going on in your area that's bothering your internet.
It easily could be. So anyway, thank you so much for being part of Happiness Happens Month. And it's in August, so I don't know when you start school, so you might tell your kids about it, and if you're and show them your video. But thank you, and good luck with your book, because I know you've got to be busy within the promotion of it right now, and I can't wait to read it. And I hope you have a blessed day.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the conversation.
Bye.
See you later.